The events take place in the 50s. Laura and her 7-year-old son, Cody, moved to a secluded place away from everyone. She was met by Mr. Langtry, who gave her the key. The man and his wife left, and Laura and her son began to settle down in the big house. Laura is sure that from now on their lives will change for the better. While unpacking, she found a black and white photograph of a young woman. At night Cody had nightmares. Someone seemed to be calling him from the bottom of the lake. The next day, while his mother was tidying up the house, the boy went for a walk outside. The house is surrounded by woods and hills, and no one else lives here. Noticing that the son was gone for a long time, worried Laura went to look for him. Cody, meanwhile, was standing on the shore of the lake with something splashing in it. Laura told the son off for disobeying her and going far from home. At night, during a thunderstorm, she was watching TV and reading magazines. Suddenly the phone rang, but the woman did not pick it up. She dozed off right on the couch, unable to see how the furniture in the house began to shake. There was an entity wandering outside the windows. Laura dreams that she herself is a participant in it, and a terrible monster is trying to pull her into the water. At some point, Laura saw above her the same young woman from the photograph who told her not to be afraid. Laura woke up to the son's screams and rushed to the second floor. Cody convinced the mother that there was a monster outside the window, but she said it was just a nightmare. There was no one outside. Laura called the office of her attending physician, but he was not there now. Then she pulled out a box of vials of liquor. In the morning, after making breakfast, Laura took the son to school. He is anxious because it is his first day. Laura took a job to provide for her family. In the afternoon she picked up the son from school, who looked sad. He said he didn't make friends with anyone. Cody refused to eat dinner. Suddenly the phone rang again, but Laura did not pick it up. In the evening she was reading a story to the son. Before the mother left, Cody asked her to keep the door open. At night the phone rang again. This time Laura decided to answer the phone. When she heard her ex-husband's voice, she immediately hung up. All of a sudden, the TV went off. Laura was perplexed to see that the upholstery on the couch was torn. Laura got a call from her mother. The daughter asked why she had given Scott her phone number. The mother assured Laura that Scott only wanted to talk to her. He was very sorry for what he had done. Meanwhile, Cody looked out the window and saw a strange glow on the surface of the lake. The next moment, a terrifying entity crawled into the room. Hearing her son scream, Laura ran to him. Cody insisted that there was the monster from the pond in his room. While the mother convinced the son otherwise, black footprints appeared on the hallway floor. Later, when Laura dropped the earring on the carpet, she found something strange under the dresser. She sat down on a chair and covered herself with a blanket, remembering how she had done the same thing in the attic as a child. When Laura was sad, the beloved grandmother always gave her support and told her that she wished she could transport the granddaughter back to the time of her youth. The next day, Laura still got through to her doctor and asked for a prescription for the medication. However, the doctor believed that the patient should survive this period of her life without medication therapy. Later, Laura came to the Langtry couple and told the landlord that a faucet was leaking and the TV was broken in the house. At night Cody couldn't sleep because he heard a voice calling to him. The boy looked out the window and saw the terrible monster crawling out of the lake. Cody hid under a blanket and turned on a flashlight while his mother went outside, unaware that there was the monster on the second floor of their house. Cody listened in horror as it crept into his bedroom. There were ominous noises all around him. The entity crawled onto the bed, taking the form of a creepy monster. At one point the monster grabbed Cody. Hearing the screams, Laura rushed to the door of the house, which was locked. Meanwhile, the creature did not let Cody out of its clutches. Laura broke the door glass, and the boy saw the monster's face for the first time. It made him stop being afraid. When panicking, Laura ran into her son in the hallway. He said he wanted to go home. At work, Laura was not herself. Later she told Mr. and Mrs. Langtry that there was something walking near the lake at night. Mr. Langtry said it was probably a raccoon. Cody still does not socialize with the other children at school. The mother tried to persuade him to make friends with someone, but he didn't want to. In the evening, Laura honestly told her son that they would not return home anyway. Cody confessed that he forgave the father for what he had done. Laura is proud of the son, but unlike him, is not ready to forgive Scott. When she asked Cody what he was drawing, the boy replied that it was the picture of a beautiful lady living in the lake. At first he thought it was a monster, but yesterday he was convinced it wasn't. The boy suggested that the mother go to the lake together and talk to her, or the lady would return to their house at night. Soon Cody saw the glow in the lake again. Laura, who was stitching up the couch at that moment, was frightened as strange things began to happen around her. The phone rang again. Suddenly Laura was pulled into the floor, and the next moment she was in a deep lake. A minute later, Laura wakes up on the couch in her home. She does not understand what it was. Later the son asked her if she had seen the beautiful lady. Laura avoided answering. All day long, Cody has been drawing pictures of the monster from the pond. Laura didn't like it. She tried to take the drawing away from the son, then an unknown force pushed her away from him. Shocked, Laura told the son not to do it again. As a reconciliation, she suggested having a party for his birthday and inviting all his classmates. In the evening, Laura, who had a clouding of her mind, made invitations for Cody's classmates, but he said they wouldn't come anyway. He only has one best friend, the beautiful lady from the lake, who promised to take him home soon. Laura asked the son to stop talking about it. At some point, eerie noises began to be heard outside. The mother told Cody, who was not in the least bit frightened, to hide. When the woman saw the silhouette outside the window, she was horrified. Then Cody, standing in the hallway, pointed a finger behind his mother's back. Laura slowly turned around and saw the hideous monster in front of her. The woman attacked the creature with a sharp object. It pushed her away from itself. Dropped down the stairs, Laura lost consciousness, and when she woke up, she led her son to the car in a panic. Cody tried to convince the mother that the monster wasn't dangerous, but she didn't believe it. Laura was desperate, not knowing what to do, but the son reassured her by telling her that he would ask the lady not to bother her anymore. The mother and son fell asleep in the car. The next morning, Laura sent her son to school and called St. Mary's. She tried to explain that there was a demon in her house, but after these words the person she spoke to immediately hung up. Laura picked up the picture of her young grandmother, and after work, she went to Mrs. Langtry and asked if the house was haunted. The woman called Laura crazy and threatened to call the police. At home, the mother and son prepared for the feast, pretending that everything was all right. Laura set the holiday table, but no one came. The woman cheered her son up, but he didn't seem upset. Scott kept calling Laura and apologizing, saying he missed her and the son. But Laura told the husband that he would never see them again. The next minute she was startled to realize that the environment of the house was changing. She closed her eyes and began to say the words of a popular television commercial out loud to calm herself down. The next morning, Laura accidentally found out that the son had not handed out invitations to his classmates. This made her angry, since she had worked so hard to organize the party. Laura demanded an explanation from the son, who again stated that he just wanted to go home. At one point, Cody felt sick and could hardly breathe. Laura hugged him. In the evening, when the woman was picking up her son from school, she noticed girls pointing fingers at them. One day at home, Laura heard some strange noises. It turned out to be Mrs. Langtry. Laura demanded that the woman leave immediately, then she told Laura and her son to move out within 30 days. At night Laura was drinking and having a good time, when suddenly she had a clouding of her mind. Laura looked out the window and saw her son walking toward the lake. The boy told his friend that he was ready to go with her. The mother didn't have time to do anything because the monster dragged Cody into the lake. Laura dived in after the son and pulled him out of the water. They went to sleep together. Laura began to drink more and more frequently. At work, the boss reprimanded her for neglecting her job duties. The boss also said that he would not tolerate employee alcoholism in the workplace. Laura reacted rather aggressively, saying that anyone in her shoes would, because a monster comes into her house every night. After this conversation, Laura lost her job. When she ran out of alcohol, she went to a bar where she met a man. During a slow dance, Laura tearfully confessed that she dreamed of going as far away as possible and escaping her past. When Laura came to pick up the son from school, he was nowhere to be found. Also, all the classmates claimed that they did not know any Cody. Laura went to the police for help. She was brought to the station, where she was interviewed by a social worker. Laura feared that the son had been taken by her ex-husband, but the social worker said that was not the case. The psychologist reminded the woman of the accident that occurred in Arizona last year. Laura had gone to the grocery store that day, and Cody had fallen into the pool. Scott was watching television at the time. Laura said that all ended well, Cody was saved. But the woman was horrified when she saw a modern smartphone that was in her bag. The psychologist and the setting had changed too. In reality, it is definitely not the 50s. After asking the psychologist to fetch water, Laura ran out into the street. Everything around her was completely unrecognizable. The woman does not understand what is happening. She went to her car and returned to her country house. Inside it was in shambles, as if no one had lived here for a very long time. The next moment, Laura heard her son's voice saying that it was time for him to return home. The mother tried to stop Cody, who was begging him to let go. Suddenly Laura was pushed away from him by an unknown force. Frightening things began to happen around him, and the monster dragged Laura into the floor, which turned out to be the pool. Above the water, Laura saw Cody. When she woke up on the floor of the house, she begged the son not to leave her. But the boy said she had to let him go because it wasn't her fault. In tears, Laura hugged her son, who after saying goodbye to her, was preparing to leave forever. Waiting for him was the monster from the lake, who turned out to be Laura's grandmother. This was the beautiful lady Cody had spoken of. They held hands and disappeared into the lake. Letting go of the son, Laura was finally free of her illusion. The world of the 50s was only her imagination. Taking her grandmother's old Cadillac, Laura was ready to return home to Arizona.